again, this is not from any lesson. It's just some constructions that we've not had an opportunity to learn about that are valuable to know. Okay, so the first thing we're doing here is constructing perpendicular bisectors. And we have segment AB. We want to construct a perpendicular bisector to segment AB. Step 1 says choose an arc that is more than half of AB. Well, right now I have my compass on there. Is that more than half AB? No. So I need to make it more then. Is that more than half of AB?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I've chosen an arc that's more than half of AB. So step 2 is going to say make an arc above and below line AB. Okay? Choose an arc that's above and below line AB. Or make an arc, I mean. And so if I come down here, I'm going to draw an arc. I'm going to go up here and draw an arc. Ruler's in the way. Okay, and do not change your compass setting between those arcs. Alright? Oh, I should add from A then from B. So we did it from A. Now without changing our compass setting, we're going to do the same thing from B. Okay? Did I go too fast? It's kind of hard to try to record, write the steps, and do it and give you time to process. So don't let me go too fast. All right? So step 3, the final step, is draw the line through the two intersections. Oops, there. So draw a line through the two intersections. Ruler. And on my line. Looks like I didn't quite have my ruler in the right place. So, if I'm constructing a perpendicular bisector, then when I'm done, this black line I just drew is going to be perpendicular. Let me try that again. It's going to be perpendicular to the blue line I started with, the segment. Okay? And it's going to pass through its midpoint. So that point right there is going to be the midpoint of segment AB. It's going to be the midpoint of segment AB. And I realize that down here, make an arc above, I called it line AB. Probably be just as well if I didn't. Okay, probably should have just called that segment. All right. Now, I'm going to do this again. Now that I have the steps written down and I can watch you a little bit. I'm not going to record it because you can always, if you're watching at home, you can replay this to get the same thing. Okay. I changed my mind. I will record it because I'm not drawing a horizontal segment this time. I'm putting it on an angle. Might change the way it looks a little bit. And so I'd like you to help me now. I won't flip back and forth through the steps. Tell me what's the first thing I'm going to do. Go ahead, Dalton.
Make your compass more than halfway.
Make my compass setting more than half of AB, right? I'll get there. Okay, so is that more than halfway? Okay, good. What do I do next? Someone other than Dalton. Make an arc above and below. And well, my line isn't horizontal anymore, so is above and below real obvious? Or do we just really mean on both sides of the line? Okay? The reality is, you could do this if you wanted to. Okay? But all this stuff in the middle here sometimes causes confusion to people. So I don't always recommend that you just draw that whole half a circle. Although you could draw the entire circle. As long as you don't get confused on what all the intersections are going on, you're okay. All we really need though is an arc up here, or down there, whatever you want to call that, and one over here. And I'm going to come over here to B. I'm going to do the same thing. All I need to know is where they cross. What do I do next, Brad?
I don't know.
Okay, someone help Brad. What do we do next? Jackson?
Draw lines in the intersections.
With my ruler. Excuse me. I'm going to draw a line through these intersections. So it looks like that. Okay. And the black line again is perpendicular to the blue line, and it intersects AB, segment AB, at its midpoint. So if I want to know, you know that number 7 I had you skip the other day? They asked you to find half of length of A. Well, we can find half of AB now, can't we? Or if I called this line segment A with a small script letter, okay, I can find half of that by constructing the perpendicular bisector. Putting my compass on B, and when I do that, I'm halfway, aren't I? So I've just found half the length of AB. So you can do that now. You could construct something with half a length. Okay? You do that, you have to find half of something, you're going to construct a perpendicular bisector. And you don't really need the perpendicular line, you just need to know where it's going to cross that line segment, and that would be half its length. Okay, because it's going to cross through the midpoint. Is that confusing to anybody? All right. Moving on then. Constructing angle bisector. So constructing an angle bisector. So we're going to pick any arc length and draw an arc from P so that it crosses both rays of the angle. And by the way, this was P. Okay? So that's P. And so I'm going to pick any arc length I want. You might not want to make it gigantic, but then again with your tools, if you get it really close together, it's kind of hard to turn your compass and get it to stay where it belongs. So you can make it whatever is comfortable, okay? And so I'm going to pick any arc length and draw an arc from P so it crosses both rays. So I'm just going to draw an arc there so it crosses both rays. Do you agree with that? Okay. Anybody not with me? Give a pause for. Okay, while I pause, remember I added, well you can't remember if you're at home, I added this part right here. So we're going to label these intersections R and S. Okay? We're going to label those two intersections R and S, just so that it's a lot easier to talk about the rest of this. And then the next step, choose an arc that is more than half the distance from R to S. And choose an arc that's more than half the distance from R to S. If you need to pause that right there to finish copying that down, go ahead. And so if I put my compass, I'm going to actually do it the way I said. R to S. Is that more than halfway from R to S? Isn't it way more than the whole distance of R to S? So it's more than half the distance then, right? Half the distance would be somewhere in here. You agree? And so if I'm out here, I'm way more than half the distance. And this is one of the examples where quite often it's even easier if you're way more than half the distance. I mean, I can make this way bigger like this. And the bigger I make it, the less things are going to be in my way. Where in everything else we've done so far, if I make it too big, I start drawing arcs where it's going to be in the way of my finished product. In this situation, that's not the case. Okay? So it's not going to be the case. So step 3. Pause while I write. I think step 3 will work for us. Make an arc in the interior of the angle from R and then from S. Okay? Anybody here not done copying that down? All right, so now we're going to go up here, and we've chosen an arc that's more than half the length. So we're going to go out to the interior of the angle, and we're going to make an arc from R, and then we're going to go down to S, and make an arc from S. Okay? Go back to R and make my line just a little bigger. We can see now where those two arcs cross, can't we? And this is where it's kind of difficult. The bigger you make it, the more difficult it is. There's a little bit of a running together of my two arcs. where they kind of overlap and my pencil lead runs together there, doesn't it? So the sharper the pencil, the better this is. And if you could kind of identify where that is like I have here, then when I go to draw my line, I can try to make sure my ruler is exactly halfway in that intersection. Okay? Because I want to be right in the middle of it. I don't want to just randomly slap a line wherever my pencil leads run together. I want to be right in the middle. So I'm going to... Oh, what are you doing? Ah. There we go. So there's my line. Okay? That's where my line goes. So step 4 would say draw the line. I'll pause while I do it, it's a lot easier. So then the last step, draw the line from P to the intersection of the arcs. And I'll come right back down, but to go back up to show you what I'm talking about, from P through the intersection. And we just draw that line. And that is the angle bisector. And what does it mean if it's an angle bisector? What did it do to my angle? Split it in half. Exactly. It cut this big angle P in half so that this part of the angle is now equal to this part of the angle. Okay? And so again, if I was told I had to create half of angle P, then I could do that now, couldn't I? I could create an angle bisector and then I could copy an angle. And you may think, well, I've never copied an angle, but we actually did copy angles the other day when we did lesson 3.7, and we were constructing parallel lines. We made an angle, and then copied that angle into another spot, and made corresponding angles equal. And so you were constructing congruent angles. We'll do it again today without all that other stuff, but we've already done it. Okay? Any questions on that? Anybody not done copying these 4 steps down? Feel free to say yes, I'm not done yet.
I went like 5
It is so recorded. Stop singing that song. Say hi to.
Yo, hustle and flow. It's hot out here for a day. Driving my boat, right? It's hot out here for a day. Driving my boat. Yeah, that's money spent. My bad. Yeah, it's hard out here for a bit. What? Stuff what? I'm talking.
He's talking with harmony.
Draw an angle like this.
Oh, we got it.
Oh, shucks, I didn't know we was recording all that space, sorry. All that dead space. Okay, listen, stop talking, please. I want you to try this one, do it again, construct an angle bisector. I've turned the angle around. And the reason I did that is because sometimes when you turn things around, everything looks backwards and it's hard to do. So try that. Okay, here we go. First step was what?
Make any angle arc from P.
Okay, and so we would call this P and draw any arc. And then what was my next step?
Label them R and S.
Label them R and S. And then what?
Draw the line in the middle.
Draw an arc that's, choose an arc that's more than half of RS, right? And then draw an arc out in the middle. From R and from S. Okay? And I'm going to put my ruler on here. Draw my line. Easy peasy. You like that? So we want 10 of these on the test. Too bad for all the juniors who weren't here to see it, huh?
Yeah.
Just fill the test with those. We'll be good.
All right. Yeah, that wouldn't be fair to throw all these on the test.
Hey, it's not my fault. It's not my fault they're gone.
All right, here we go. Last two. The last two things we'll do today. Then you can have the rest of the class if there's any time left to finish. So as soon as Ray's ready to, sorry, Jeff.
It's me.
As soon as Jeffrey's ready to go here.
Jeffrey.
We want to construct segment AB congruent to segment RS, and we have segment RS here. When you construct, you cannot use the numbers on your rulers. You can't use the grid marks on your graph paper.
Why not?
Okay? You have to pretend that your straight edge is literally only a straight edge, and that your paper is blank. Okay? And so, step one, I'm not going to write it down. You can if you'd like. Step one says, draw a line longer than segment RS. And so I'm going to draw a line with my ruler that is longer than RS. You agree that that's longer than RS? Okay? At the end point, at one of the endpoints of my line, I know a line doesn't really have endpoints, but we're drawing actually a line segment because we can't really draw a line, right? So at one end, I'm going to put a dot. And that's going to be A. So at one end, place point A. Oh. Must be when I knew I shut that off. Must be it was off and I turned it on. Whatever. Doesn't matter. That's the nice thing about being almost 50 and a teacher, is I actually can have my phone on. All right, here we go. So step one was to draw a line, and step two, or step 1B, if you want to call it that, was to place point A at the end of the line. Step 3 then is going to be use your compass to measure RS. Yeah, well, I almost run into that trouble too. So I'm going to measure RS. When you measure RS, put a little mark out there to make sure your lead is really drawing where you mean for it to draw. So step 3 was measure RS with your compass and make a little mark at S so that you know that it's drawing where you want it to. And then move down, step 4, move down to A and mark where B should go.
B.
And label it B. That's all there is to constructing a congruent segment. You just use your ruler, or use your compass to measure the length, draw a line, and mark that distance on there.
Wow.
Okay?
Staple buttons right now. that was easy.
All right, any questions? Okay, copying an angle is a little bit more involved, but you've already done it. You just was unaware of it. Let me move the tools down here.
Oh, you're good.
Now,
Yeah, no, how did
are you listening? When you construct an angle, it's best to make the angle you're constructing look like it's in the same position as the angle you're copying it from. So this line here is on a little bit of an angle. So when I draw my line here, I'm going to put it on a similar angle. Okay? And I'm going to label this end S. I'm going to put a point there. And I'm going to erase this highlight I had there. All right? Now, are you listening? Let's stop our conversation, please. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to pick any arc we want. And we're going to draw an arc that crosses both rays of angle R. And just like before, we're going to label A and B. Okay, so we're going to draw an arc, any arc length you want. So that second step was choose any arc length and draw an arc that crosses both rays of angle R and label them A and B. Let me say it again. Choose any arc length and draw an arc from angle R that crosses both rays and label them A and B. Step 3 is do the same thing down here. Draw that same arc. The problem is, I don't know where the other ray is yet. So when I copy that arc, I'm going to make it a lot bigger, didn't I? I made this arc almost twice as long as the first one I drew, because I don't know where this line's going to go through here yet. It's going to go through there somewhere, but I don't know where exactly. Okay? So then I'm going to measure from B to A. I'm going to measure the distance from B to A. And anytime you measure, whoops, see, I draw my arc. And I want to draw my arc so I know that where it's crossing, because where I just did it wasn't good. So I'm going to erase that, make this a little smaller. Try it again. Now I like that better. Cross right on the blue ray and the intersection of the arc at point A. So I have to measure with my compass the distance from B to A. And so I think that was step 3. Step 4 then would be moved down to where your first arc crossed the ray for S. And draw that same arc. Find out where it crosses the other point on the arc. Okay? And so then when I draw my line from S through that intersection, I get an angle. My angle looks bigger than my blue one, doesn't it? Why does it look bigger? Because I drew the rays longer, didn't I? That's the only reason it looks different. If I took my protractor out, and measured I get, looks like, let's see, 35, 6, 7, 8, 38 and a half about. If I come down here, I'm going to get something that looks a lot like that. So I get almost exactly the same. And remember, what did I tell you, what causes those little mistakes? Yeah, the crudeness of our tools, all right? You can be doing everything correctly and you still will have little errors, all right? So that's all I wanted to make sure we went through today. So if we use these, quiet please. If we use these techniques again later, we'll have a better understanding. Now, I would hope that you would share this information with those who were gone today.
That's why